Space Action Podcast with your hosts Chris Carson and DC and Shama.
Welcome to Space Action Podcast, the official podcast of Space Action Heroes, a webcomic you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. I am Chris Carson.
I'm Deniso and Shama.
Hi, DC.
Hi, Carson. Oh my god.
We're back again.
Yes, we are.
It's been like, what, a month?
It's been a month or so.
Yeah,
long enough that friggin' people in Star Wars keep dying.
It's just Star Wars is just, I guess that's when you realize it came out 40 years ago. It's like, well, this is what happens. This is when everyone's going to start going.
I mean, how much of the original cast of Star Trek is still around? Like, they're contemporary.
Yeah,
it's
just, I think it's just Shatner
and,
Uhura.
Yeah.
I don't remember, Nichelle Nichols and George Takei. I think that's it.
That's it, right?
I think everyone else is dead. I think, no, Chekhov's still alive. Ironically, the old Chekhov far outlived the new Chekhov.
Oh, well, maybe that's a strange trade-off.
That's a weird trade-off.
It's a fucked up trade-off right there.
Yeah.
Right off the top, R.I.P., the OG Mandalorian.
He's no good to me dead.
Fucking Jeremy Bullock.
Yeah.
You ever met that dude?
No.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Nice dude.
I think, because you got pictures of, I've seen pictures of you with him and with David Prowse, who also passed.
Yeah.
We can't remember if he did before or after the last podcast.
Yeah, R.I.P. It's just, and it's weird because it's like the 40th anniversary of Empire 2, and I was like, man, that was like those two guys' movie.
That was their center stage.
Yeah, for real. They're the whole like third act of that fucking film.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that because of the popularity of Boba Fett right now, a lot of the stories are coming out and how nice a dude Jeremy Bullock was.
And you're like,
really,
no shit.
Just a really like. What I liked about him is that he clearly was into the fan life, like the Comic-Con life, but like not in like an overindulgent kind of way. Or like a self-aggrandizing kind of way. He just really loved talking about movies and like the movies and
you like the fans, you like the cash, who wouldn't? And,
and like, you know, it put food on his fuck. That's very much how the dude approached it. Like an English gentleman, he was like, "Listen, let's put food on my kid's table." So I can't
what was
complain.
he even? Was he?
He was an actor. He was
he actually officially an actor?
He was in a I can't remember which Bond movie he was in.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but
before or after Star Wars though.
Around the same time, I'll say maybe before.
So I wonder
if he was in a Robin Hood, because
I don't
one of those old school Robin Hoods.
I hope he was in the Kevin Costner one, or Robin Hood had a mullet.
No, I wouldn't remember that. He was like one of those old BBC production Robin Hoods.
Okay.
Like a lot of those guys, like Peter Cushing, they were in old British horror movies and stuff.
Yeah. See, I always wondered if he was just a stuntman or something because he just wore the suit. They didn't use his voice.
If I remember this story right, it was because a production assistant, they needed a stand-in, so they called him in because they knew he was an actor.
Okay.
And
get the body movements down.
Yeah, and that was it. That's why he also plays the Imperial officer in that same scene.
And he's an old guy too. He doesn't need. They brought him back for the Disney shit.
No, it was the third prequel.
He's in the third prequel.
He's Bail Organa's pilot on the way back to Coruscant. I was like, incoming message, sir. That's him.
That's Boba?
That's him, yeah.
And whatever happened to the voice... Oh, by the way, this is an episode about the Mandalorian.
Oh, we're getting there.
But we're getting there.
Let's do some house cleaning first.
But I do want to... we should go through some big Boba first. Who did the voice of him? Does he die?
Jason Wingreen.
Like
he passed away, I want to say, like over a decade ago.
Really? So it's been a while for the old cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the OG incarnation, man.
Yeah. Well,
so now that all we have is pretty much the prequel version.
All we have is Tamara Morrison.
Who,
if I could, like, just diatribe momentarily about my association with Boba Fett, because when I was a kid, I would literally fast forward past all the parts of the movie to get to Han and Chewbacca's adventures. Like, they were my guys. And Boba Fett was this really cool, like, villain in part 2, but then he was so unceremoniously killed in part 3 that as a kid, he just sort of took on the role of, like Jaws in James Bond, like the B bad guy that Bond kills before getting to the main bad guy.
Okay.
So he kind of, just the henchman.
Yeah.
Kind of took on the henchman role, and so I never really paid much attention to him. And then when the prequels came out, I think I texted this to you. It feels like George Lucas shot the character in the head by making him a Kiwi clone and then dubbing his lines over in the original series. And so Jon Favreau is paddling this corpse back to life, but it's going to be a Frankenstein no matter what. He's never going to be what he was because he's been so shit on.
It's
his little belly and everything.
It was getting a little harsh, like, especially in like the finale. If we can segue right into the Mandalorian.
Spoilers right away.
Spoilers right away. whenever he's sitting there and there's like, you're not a Mandalorian, your father was, you're just a donor, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, we're getting really into the weeds here about Boba Fett's backstory. Is he a Mandalorian? I don't give a shit.
And how old are these chick Mandalorians? Because that was like 40 years ago.
Well, presumably Bo-Katan's the same age because she was bombing around with Ben Kenobi back in the Clone Wars.
So they shouldn't have cast Katie Sackhoff then, because she's only like 40.
Well, she could have been a very old-looking 15-year-old back in the day.
Yeah, or her species lives to be 150 or something.
Maybe like their day cycle's a little bit longer.
Maybe. Yeah. Because her sidekick there, who was like, we've heard 1,000 of your voices, motherfucker. Like that one, she looked like she was 20.
Yeah.
Well, didn't this happen a long
Mandalorian, girls start earlier. What do you want me to say?
I don't know. But
they got cool helmets and they start earlier.
On the topic of The Mandalorian, I think you enjoyed season 2 more than I did.
Okay, I will say this much. It was definitely, like, standing back and seeing the whole arc, you could tell they were like, we're going to use season 2 as a springboard just for a bunch of different spin-offs.
Because Pedro Pascal was pissing them off and they were trying to get rid of him?
I was wondering, like, because halfway through the season, I'm like, oh yeah, he's not necessarily underneath the helmet. Apparently for all these scenes.
Barely. It was a lot of stuntman work.
So what was his deal overall?
So I mentioned this in another podcast and I had it slightly wrong because it's slightly wrong in that I said Pedro Pascal wanted to keep the helmet on. He was the one who wanted to take the helmet off. He was getting pissed off that he wanted more FaceTime because the show was so popular. And then he went above Favreau's head to Disney to get them to intervene on his behalf. And they tried to, which is clear in this season because, again, spoilers, I felt all the dramatic weight of him taking off his mask in that final scene was lost when he literally had it off for the dopiest fucking scene in the episode before, where he's sitting there, like, doing comical, shifty eyes back and forth between Bill Burr and the Storm and the Imperial officer. Like, if you're gonna have that as your final shot, maybe don't have his helmet off in the second last episode for like 20 minutes.
I don't know, but it still kind of resonated with me. Like, I think about the same way fucking whenever Vader tells Luke, I am your father now. It's all kind of fucked because you've known that for 4 movies.
I know, that sucks. That's why you never watch the prequels first.
But it's still the fact that, like, oh shit, you told the kid. That, like, broke his fucking brain. I thought it was still had an impact in the last scene, because it's like, oh, it's the first time the kid's seen his face.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like this was a course correction because they were ending this character and continuing with Boba Fett. Yeah. So if they had known they were going to be doing this, I doubt we would have seen his face until that scene. Yeah. You know what I mean? In the entire series. He wouldn't have taken it off in season 1 for the robot.
Because season 1 is a little bit too contrived. Yeah. Like, this one at least, I don't know, I really love that Bill Burr episode.
It was great, but I just wish, like, one small tweak is that when he's like, I can't go up there, the Mandalorian went up there, and he's failing. Bill Burr should have just stepped in before he took his helmet off. Like, save the dramatic impact for literally the next episode to see his face.
I guess it's like it's as much of a commitment seeing him almost take off the helmet as taking off the helmet. Right. He's like, okay, you were willing to do it. Like,
right, and it wasn't even he literally just sat there, again, like shifty eyes, not involved with the scene at all. It was Bill Burr's scene, so why was his helmet off?
Bill Burr was crushing it.
Yeah, he was crushing it. So why was his helmet off?
Because Pedro Pascal didn't want to be there.
Because Pedro Pascal didn't want to be there. That's exactly it.
That's why.
But yeah, I don't want to rant too much because I mean I liked it. I want to say that I enjoyed it and there were great moments throughout it. But overall, taking a step back, it was like season 1 they were trying to figure out what they were, and I really enjoyed that they were more like the X-Files or The Fugitive, how it was serialized. You could really watch any episode, but there were the conspiracy theory episodes, like X-Files. Okay. There were the Moff Gideon, Yoda, Baby Yoda, Groot Yoda, Grogu. That's always just to interrupt myself. That reminds me of the Simpsons scene of like, we need something like Love Day, but less stupid. Love Day?
Love Day, yeah, that's good.
We need like a Groot, but for Yoda. Like, Grogu? Yeah, right.
Grogu. There it is.
Too obvious. But I really liked that they were doing like a Walker, Texas Ranger serialized show. And then season 2, clearly Disney was like, this is all we have left to make money. We need to use this as a springboard for a million other shows. And so suddenly it became like Side Quest the series, where you did kind of have to watch every episode to know what was going on. because it was like a video game, a series of side quests of trying to get.
And I guess it does. You can't watch it in a different order because he gets each objective from the previous episode.
And then it felt like the fact that the ship was all broken down and awesome, and then it goes all fixed up to brand new, and then blown up the next episode. And you're like, okay, that wasn't thought out. That was probably a last minute decision. Because they're getting rid of Pedro Pascal, so they thought, okay, let's just blow up the Razor Crest.
Right.
And then him showing his face again, and then in the next episode. So it really felt slapdashed in the last 2 or 3 episodes of like, okay, we need to end this series. Because now Dave Filoni's moving on to the Ahsoka series.
You know, I was thinking about that today, the way they kind of... Because I started this whole fucking podcast eulogizing Jeremy Bullock. I'm a diehard Boba Fett fan.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, whenever he finally drops in fully suited in the armor, I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I'm enjoying it. But I'm like, but why isn't this having the impact?
It didn't feel quite right, did it?
Yeah, that it should be having. And I think it's because there was no build-up to it. It wasn't like they had Fett tracking him through the whole season. No. They showed him once, and then he catches up with them at that exact...
I've been following you.
Yeah.
You got my armor.
So was he going to every planet? I would love to see like a special edition cut like right next to T-shirt and jeans guy. Boba Fett's peeking behind him.
Right?
Like following from planet to planet.
But like also, if he has had Slave One, why didn't he get his armor himself from that like random dude in a small town?
See, which begs the question. Let's go to episode 1.
Okay.
How does Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc?
That'll be explained in the Book of Fett, I guarantee.
It involves him taking his shit off?
Or he got out, passed out, and the Jawas came by and stripped him.
Took it off his body and left him for dead?
Maybe.
That makes more sense.
And he's clearly the Sarlacc pit also ages you 30 years past what you're supposed to be.
Now, I just thought he was all stomach acid fucked up.
I guess that's what they're going for, but he also kind of has the old man gorilla body, too. So I guess it bloated him and melted his face.
You see, what happens in the Sarlacc, Chris, is that you get over-inundated with protein.
But also, they're like juggling the balls of special edition versus original because in the special edition, the Little Shop of Horrors plant ate him. How do you get the fuck out of that? It wasn't just a pit with spikes on it. Remember
you can get out of a beak.
You can get out of a beak with a tiny little throat.
Yeah, remember the top of this season? He popped out of a giant space lizard. And a crate dragon, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You can pop out of a Sarlacc.
Oh the Godzilla-sized crate dragon. I never imagined they were going to be dune sandworms.
Because the skeleton ones land in the desert in Star Wars, so like I assumed they were around that big.
And then I guess it's the expanded shit that made them look like little Komodo dragons.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's just that skeleton in the movie.
And what's kind of? Did you see the one thing? I do love the little. Less is more, and I think Favreau knows that from doing like the Marvel movies. Mm-hmm. How many Easter eggs are sprinkled throughout the background. The crate dragon call is the original call.
The original one?
From that Obi-Wan did in the first Star Wars.
That digital sounding thing.
That really like coarse, like raspy sounding one. I'm all for it. Like little like Easter eggs like that. I kind of dig in this series.
Yeah, because I don't know Favreau. Like I don't know.
They clearly were forced. Like I don't know what their original plan was for like multiple seasons or what. But this definitely kind of felt like
really quickly wrapped up.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It still worked for me though, considering like they gave this one a logical closure point. Like the first season was like, what is this thing? And now it's like, you know what it is. Like you can either have 2 options at this point: draw it out for multiple seasons, or be like, okay, we established what it is. Now just get it somewhere.
Just get it the fuck out. So we'll do the spin-off shows.
So in terms of like, this fucking ship is sinking. We have to like get all the rats off of it as fast as possible. Yeah. I mean, I gotta give it to them. For tonally, I think they nailed it. Like for the Ahsoka episode,
the Ahsoka one was actually, ironically, my least favorite from season 1 was the Fellini one. Dave Fellini. Mm-hmm. Dave Fellini.
Filoni.
Yeah. Fellini. Wrong Italian name. And this, I think, was the best one.
Yeah.
It was really interesting because it was just a samurai episode.
Well, I mean, I don't want to completely say it was because of Michael Biehn, but I think it was.
Michael Biehn did it?
Oh, yeah.
It was all him?
Yeah.
But this is the way...
He did that Michael Biehn face where he half opens his mouth and kind of looks around.
He looks around a lot. It looks like you see your side one.
Yeah.
But the way they treated the Jedi in that one, I thought was really great. The way they treated the Jedi in the final episode was embarrassing. With deep fake Luke wandering in.
Why don't they just use deep fake technology at this point?
Because it looks so bad. It looked so bad.
I thought it was Sebastian Stan at first. I was like, I don't know who that's supposed to be.
Is that supposed to be Mark Hamill? I don't know.
Yeah. And what's weird too was that like they had to de-age his voice as well.
Was that, or is he just good at? Because I've heard Hamill do his like lighter
his Luke voice.
His Luke voice.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. He's a voice actor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think he just brought himself up a little back to when he was young.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. I thought that was so lame because the logic of the universe started to break down because I really loved the feel of an old spaghetti western show, and then they just kind of took the spaghetti western character out and put him in Disney Star Wars because it felt a lot like the prequel series.
It felt like Clone Wars
or the sequel series. It felt like it just felt because Star Wars does Star Wars best when it's aping something else, right? And then this Disney series was just this Frankenstein clusterfuck of we don't know what the fuck to do with Star Wars, really. We're going to remake the first one, and then we're going to do this weird exploration of the counterculture of Star Wars or whatever for Last Jedi, and then the last one was just insane.
I have a theory, by the way. I think that Last Jedi was Rian Johnson saying he hates the expanded universe.
Because he just hacked it to pieces.
Yeah, he was like, fucking get rid of your stupid expectations. We're not doing it. Like, even that line where Yoda's like, did you read those books? Page turners, they were not. I was like, is he talking about the comics
actual
and
books?
bugs? Maybe Rian Johnson don't like those stories, you know?
He is a pudgy California folk singer who I think is really up his own ass. He's the type of guy I imagine would start transitioning his son at like 3 months old because he thinks it's going to be a daughter. just so he can seem really woke, you know?
I'm just imagining, do you remember the footage of him showing up to the premiere of Last Jedi and there's like a row of fans and he's running down the road with his hand out giving him high fives, but it's all the doctors who just performed the surgery on his now new daughter.
And he's like tweet raging about it. Oh man, everyone's gonna love me even so much more now. He laughs like Salacious Crumb. Where the fuck was I going with that?
Sorry.
That's okay. I got baby brain big time. Oh fuck, where was I going with that? I don't even remember. Oh, just how they plucked out the Mandalorian Western character from the Western series and dropped him into Disney Star Wars for season 2. So like there were moments that I really enjoyed, but overall it felt so desperate on Disney's part. In the first half, just felt so desperate of we have goodwill back, so we need to immediately destroy it. we need to make 18 fucking shows. And I made this point, and everyone, I don't remember who I made the point to, and they were like rolling their eyes at me, and then 2 months later, Disney did the big announcement of like, here's our 10 new Star Wars shows. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
I had a similar thought this morning in the sense of like, I was imagining a creative argument between Jon Favreau and some executive just being like, now, we know you like doing this niche little Western show. And he's like, yeah. He's like, but is there any way, don't fucking say it. Is there any way we can work one of the original 4 characters in there? Oh, Jesus. What do you mean?
Fuck yeah.
I don't know, like a Skywalker or a Solo, or it's like we put them literally in every fucking other, and like I'm just imagining every single time like Rogue One would fall to it, they'd be like, okay, so in the hangar scene you see the droids, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
The hangar scene.
Gotta be the droids.
You gotta put the droids in. Why would they be there? Just put them in. It's like, for fuck's sake. So the closer and closer Favreau got to that, conceding that argument, was like them to the scenes again. And at the end, who comes and saves them? Luke Skywalker. And he was like, oh, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore.
I wonder, is he still involved with the show now?
Yeah, he's show running all those.
The other ones.
Yeah.
He's just show running those.
Well, because he was a producer on all those, executive producer.
And this season, he wrote and directed like the first half of it. Mm-hmm. And then it just went nuts around episode 4 or 5 is when I think Filoni's was the first not written and directed by Favreau, and then it just kind of went crazy the last 4 episodes.
Did he write and direct the whole?
I'm pretty sure he did the first 4 because I remember I'm not 100%, but at the end of each episode,
Bryce Dallas Howard did the.
She did the last season episode.
She did the Katie Sackhoff one.
Oh, she did the girl power one.
Yeah.
Which episode was that? 3?
It was right before Ahsoka Tano, so yeah, I want to say it was 3 or 4.
Ahsoka Tano was 5 or 6. Yeah. Which, that's where the logic of the universe broke down, because it's like, you have this Jedi right there who can clearly cut through anything. I thought these, Cylons, the Imperial Cylons, were made of Beskar or something. That's why they were so tough, but lightsaber went through them like butter. You have a Jedi right here, but we're not going to have him go get the Jedi. because Luke has to show up at the end. So all of a sudden the internal logic was breaking down for fan service. Because why wasn't Ahsoka there helping him out? He got everyone else from the season except for like the chick with the pit droids on Tatooine. Like, everyone else was there to help him. So why wouldn't he go get the fucking Jedi?
Because she had other shit to do. So like after they coronated that dude, first they had to figure out how to get those guys out of those electronic cages that were getting shocked.
Oh yeah,
that's like a whole day. That's gonna take like a whole day.
And she has to go after the incredibly forced line of where is Grand Moff fucking Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have just said Thrawn? It's almost as if she was speaking to an audience of some kind. To let them know that there's going to be a spin-off series where she's going to be going after a blue motherfucker who was in charge of the Imperial Navy, which there now is. I don't know. It was really, the first season was fun. The second season was jaded in my mind because it felt so Favreau having his hands tied in order to fix the universe they broke.
I mean, because when you put it that way, I can definitely see the concessions that he had to make throughout the series. But I'm like, I thought the stories were compelling enough that it went completely over my head. The only one that kind of dragged out for me was the Frozen Planet Frog Lady one with the spiders.
That one dragged out. I did not like the finale. It felt like it could have been 15, 20 minutes shorter. Like so they had these super battle droids. Basically, they were just battle droids. Really,
I love the Dark Troopers. You got like 20 of them at that one door. Instead of using combined strength to just pry the doors open, they do their like jujitsu Cobra Kai fucking punches. Yeah,
they're doing the bride hit on the coffin. It made no sense.
And every situation, we're stuck behind glass. All right, boys, etiquette. Do
we have like a metal cutter or something on there?
A fucking a welding gun, anything?
Anything? No.
Some other projectile.
Just fists.
That killed me.
They were so silly. Again, I got super baby brain, so the point that I was making just fluttered away like a butterfly on a breeze. I don't remember what I was saying. I wish I could rewind it and take a look. Something about the battle droids. But, Luke showing up was stupid. Then R2 came in. Oh, no, that was it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
I just remembered. Because they cut to them waking up. And then it cut away to like 3 more minutes of something else. And then cut back to them waking up a little more. And at that moment I was like, wait, I think we got it. You showed them waking up. The next scene with them can then be them marching out, the Dark Troopers.
Oh.
And cut back to them 3 times waking up until they finally walked out. And I was like, oh my God, did you just need to get to 40 minutes? You didn't want the finale to be 25 minutes long? Like the editing, the director of Ant-Man did it. That might explain it.
Listen, it gave you a couple extra seconds of Ludwig Göransson's badass dubstep music.
Oh, but that even got a little dragged out. I noticed you can always tell when a composer thinks a scene isn't playing well because their music gets really stretched out. When they're just like, okay, I just got to get through this scene and then I can flourish for a point coming up. And when they were waking up and it kept cutting back to like just mindless fight scenes in the hallways, his music started to get very like just do like he was just tapping the piano like okay just wait till we get to the next scene, okay, let's do this. I noticed that a lot. And I think even he was like, guys, this could be 20 minutes shorter.
There was a lot of stuff with them in the hallway. I have to admit, though, they did manage to get like their girl gang team a little less ham-fisted than fucking...
Oh, it was a whole girl gang team, wasn't it?
Than Endgame did. That kind of made me happy. I was like, there you go. That's how you fucking do it without slamming it down people's fucking throats.
No, that's when they get the token girl director to make the next Star Wars movie after she's done with Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins.
Oh, yeah. She's going to make the Rogue One.
Yeah. Fucking Star Wars, man. I don't know. I think Patty Jenkins is a competent director, but she's no fucking genius. But I think she gets a lot of like
that's what gave
play
me hope
because
this
she
season,
made Wonder Woman.
Is that like I was wondering after all of it, I'm like, what was the takeaway from all this? One, the episode that didn't have the fucking Baby Yoda in it was my favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it shows like that episode to me I thought was so. I gave up to Rick. Is it Fumi? Ah, man, Fumi.
Oh, that's what I noticed too. As I was watching it, I was
Fumiyama.
like, this feels very like Japanimation at times. It feels very Asian, quote unquote, you know? And then the director was like, oh, there it is.
He's black.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he was Asian by the name. Well, then he loves his fucking Asian cinema. Because as I was watching it, I was like, this feels like when they do anime versions of shit.
Okay.
Like the anime Marvel stuff that you can get. It feels like that. A lot of the cutting, a lot of the like direct lines that you can see in more like kabuki theater type productions. I thought this guy's got to be Asian, and then the name I thought he was. No, he's just a black dude. No, he must love him some
just
anime.
A black dude. He'd be a black dude who loves anime.
He's just a black dude who loves anime.
But that episode I thought was so nuanced in terms of like it's just all about the blurred line between allegiances. You know, like. Just little subtle things, like whenever he's fighting all them aliens in the Mad Max scene, one of them saves his buddy from falling off. Or when they get back to the Imperial base, the Empire's like celebrating, they play like this heroic music and shit.
Yeah.
And just for a second, like I think I talked about it on the podcast, how I always wanted there to be a Star Wars story about some stormtroopers in a bunker and they realize they're on the wrong side.
On the wrong side.
That was a glimpse of it, that episode, of just being like, look at them, man, like... They're all just caught in the gears of war.
They're stuck here.
Yeah, like the
Probably
Empire, the
brainwashed
rebels,
or clones or whatever the fuck they are.
What's that?
At that point, the brainwashed or clones or whatever the fuck they are, stormtroopers. I don't know what they are at this point.
Yeah, well, and like Bill Bird's like the one character who's just like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it doesn't matter what helmet you're wearing. This is for goddamn ridiculous. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was such a nuance, like a type of genre that Star Wars I didn't know could do, but they did it. So that kind of gives me hope for, especially the fact they're not trying to do ongoing trilogies or serials with these new movies. Like, I think the Obi-Wan's going to be a limited series.
Yeah, I think they're all limited series.
They're all just one and done.
I don't think Mandalorian was intended to be originally, but now it's definitely a limited series.
I think it's the way to go. They could just do like what's his face does, the guy who does Legion and Fargo.
Okay, yeah. I don't know his name,
Noah Hawley.
but every season is different.
It's like an anthology, yeah. Like, I think that's the way to go with these, man. Like, instead of trying, because otherwise, look at Mando season 2. Eventually, what ends up happening is you need to springboard a bunch of other stuff.
I know.
I think their plan now is to do it ironically, like Marvel, where each story, like Ahsoka.
It's Ahsoka. It's a rogue. They're called like Guardians of the
Rangers of the Republic.
Rangers, the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I guess it does have the same ring to it, doesn't
it's
it?
It's probably gonna be pretty funny.
Can you imagine if it's just like fucking like Lethal Weapon in space? I'd be kind of
the chubby X-wing pilot
from what do you call it? Kim's Convenience.
Have you ever watched Kim's Convenience?
I have not. I pass by it all the time.
Absolutely fucking awful. I will go on record as saying I keep seeing people be like, "Hey, did you like Schitt's Creek? Here's more Canadian content." I'm like, "No, there isn't." Schitt's Creek is like Canadian content sucks for like 95% of it. Anyway, sorry, off the rails.
Oh, too fun. See, that's why they need to put Dan Levy in an X-wing.
Yeah. Oh my god. He's just constantly got that face that he does.
So he's in the black and white striped stylish X-wing.
That'd be pretty great.
That'd be awesome.
And then Eugene's got to show up as an Imperial officer.
Oh,
yeah. you gotta come back to base. Just blinking.
But yeah, I got Rangers of the Republic, Ahsoka, and there's another one and the three of them I think are gonna line up to
Marvel Universe in it.
They're gonna line up to I think probably Thrawn. If I had to guess at this point.
It probably will just be called Thrawn, or maybe it'll be called Mandalorian, and they'll bring him back in 5 years after Pedro realizes he's not as important as he thought he was because they just flicked him off the series.
They were like, we could put anyone under that helmet. No one's gonna know, right?
You want voiceover rates? Is that what you want?
You know how many dead actors we have fucking reanimated and put into that role? We can make you talk. We can make you say whatever we want, Pedro.
Luke's hair looked like a bad Photoshop job. Like it had that fuzz around it.
And the front, that was the front, but the back looked like it was like either a new haircut or a bad wig.
Yeah.
Like it was just a little too clean. I was like,
It almost feels like they did because he wasn't all CGI. It almost feels like it was a deep fake, but a badly done deep
If I had to guess, they had Mark Hamill shave and they tried de-aging him. But like, I love
his body was skinny though.
But they could have just gotten a body double. I think just for his face.
Oh, you think they just filmed him
for the close-up shots? Yeah. I think they shaved him and de-aged him. But like, listen, I love Mark Hamill to death, but he's 60 something now.
Too many cooks in the stew there.
It really just felt like Remember that line in Arrested Development whenever they were like trying to airbrush out Lucille's driver's license?
Oh, yeah,
and, like she's just, it's like I had to end up checking albino on the forum.
Yeah.
It just felt like they put so much de-aging onto Luke's face. It wasn't even Mark Hamill anymore.
Yeah, and it's so ironic that I don't know if it's ego or if it's because they have like it's this industry that supports itself. So they go like, well, we have to hire this company to do this new technology because then we sell this technology to do in other movies and profit. It's all fucking show business. So I don't know if that's the reason that they don't just do something that takes 3 seconds for a YouTuber to do that looks 100 times better, or what, or if it's ego, like we can't just deep fake it.
My theory: Disney's on the cutting edge of face replication software, and they're testing
it out.
Yeah.
Have you looked at Tarkin recently? I mean, he looked bad at the time. Have you looked at him recently?
I saw a video. Someone did a deep fake side by side.
It looked really good.
Yeah, the OG Tarkin. It's a little. I watched it with Heather, and I was like, "Did you notice anything about
Tarkin?"
I thought he was passing because she didn't say anything the whole movie. I was like, "Do you notice anything about that dude?" I was like, "He was computer animated." She's like, "Oh yeah, obviously, no shit."
It's the little twitches, like when he turns and he does the little like eyebrow raise and lip sneer, and you're like, people don't do that. Pixar does that, you know.
The problem I have with it is that the angles he does, the way he stands in certain scenes, you can tell he's clearly. They just did a side-by-side copy of poses of Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
So he uncomfortably has to take these unnatural poses.
Yeah.
There's one where he's talking to Krennic and he's looking him in the eye, but then he tilts his head down,
like,
and talks to him like this for some reason. You're like, yeah, that was natural.
He looks like he's in like a villain in The Incredibles.
A little bit.
You know what I mean?
He does have those movements, those really jerky movements.
With slightly better skin textures. But the story behind that was that they actually had a mold of his face from
that's right.
But then clearly it didn't do much for them. Like, it may have been better if they just referenced photos.
I think it's because they were also, remember that I think they were scanning in the models of the Star Destroyers to get them as screen accurate as possible. So they were just going crazy with it. Like, let's see what happens when we put his face in. Let's put Cushing's face in it.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Does it work well? I put body parts. Let's put Peter's face in there, man. Let's see what happens.
We just gotta sell this tech. That's all we're doing. We just gotta sell this tech.
Exactly.
We gotta give it to someone else.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I think you enjoyed Mando season 2 more than I did, but I really did enjoy it. I just thought that the problems were large enough that it did kind of skew the overall picture for me. You know?
I mean, like, I think it's because that's the same reason why the Boba Fett thing didn't blow my mind as much as it did. My investment in this franchise at this point is kind of like, hey, they did something that I recognize. That's cool. Yeah. It's not like I sit there watching and being like, oh, but I could feel the studio marks of them trying to make this into a spring. I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. Like this, especially in an age where I knew that Ahsoka Tano was going to be played by Rosario Dawson like 5 months ago when the casting happened.
Shows up, yeah.
So it's just like I don't. It doesn't impede it for me. Like
it impedes it for me just because season 1, like, it made a fool out of me. Because season 1 and people who haven't seen it would be like, should I watch it? Is it Rogue One? Is it just full of member berries? Is it the I'm wanted in 7 systems guy showing up 10 times? I was like, no, they do it so much more organically. Because, like, if you live in this universe, there's going to be Jawas, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. They don't draw attention to it. It's just there in the background to help paint the world they're in, but it's a very unique story with its own unique tone and unique character. So they did it right. And then season 2 just felt like fucking Rogue One. At parts. It felt like that ATST, look, AT-AT, check it out. You remember that, right? It felt a lot more like that in season 2. So it bugged me. I was like, oh, you guys nailed it in season 1. And now this one seems so showy, especially the 15 fucking minute. Like, oh, it's an X-Wing, a single X-Wing. What's that going to do for us? Okay, it's Luke. Okay, now we're going to take 20 minutes of this robed figure walking down hallways.
I dug that so hard, man. Especially the part where they did like a shot-for-shot recreation of the Vader hallway scene.
Yeah, why did they do that?
I thought it was cool.
But what was the thinking behind that?
Because the whole series is about father and sons, man.
It's like poetry.
It rhymes, exactly. It rhymes. Man, you didn't get nothing out of the fucking baby Yoda seeing his fucking face.
No, because at that point, it just felt rushed. It was like the last act of Scott Pilgrim when they ran out of book, and they just had to quickly wrap up the movie because they didn't know where to go with the story. So all of a sudden, the last 10 minutes is like, wait, it's over? That's what it felt like the final episode, where you just spent 20 minutes showing people shoot shit in a hallway, and then just Baby Yoda's gone and taken off with Luke, and Pedro Pascal looks fat. It's just over. It felt so forced. And now he's has this saber thing, all these loose ends, but then the series is over. So is it going to start up the next series with the lady?
Well, no. The next season 3 starts with a CGI face of Adam Driver murdering Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that's it. He's dead. Baby Yoda is dead.
Baby Yoda gets brutally murdered by Ben Solo.
Yeah. But I just mean like the Mandalorian had the Darksaber. So is it whatever the series is with the lady Mandalorians? Is it going to start with Katie Sackhoff being like, "Yeah, I killed him."
He's just holding the head of Pedro Pascal's head.
He still looks fat and sweaty.
And it's his CGI face, and he's shaking his head just to spite him. He's shaking like from that one episode.
I still think it would have been better if they'd known they were only going to do 16 episodes to have never shown his face till that final moment. Little teases like him drinking soup under the helmet, and then at the very end he says goodbye to Yoda would have been so much more emotionally impactful.
I wonder what their initial plan is. Again, like it's kind of starting to feel like, oh, you guys didn't have a plan with this, you just ran with it.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like they were just going to do a serialized show, and then Disney stepped in season 2. I mean, I have no confirmation of that, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah, I wonder what like their original intent was whenever they started it, if it was going to be like a multiple season thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Realistically, the whole time I was watching the entire series, I'm like, but you can't get many more. Like, I was surprised there was a second season. I'm like, you can't get many more.
Much more of this. Unless you go full serial and every week's a new bounty, which is what I wanted from the show. As soon as Baby Yoda started what's his name again? Fucking Grogu. As soon as Grogu started sticking around, I was like, oh, this isn't going to be just a weekly bounty hunter show where every week's a new bounty. Fuck. That's what I wanted.
Right.
Go get the puck, you know?
I can't, the second, like, that first episode ends, you're kind of like, oh, we're doing Lone Wolf and Cub, which is fine,
because they still had a bounty every episode for season 1. I think season 2 is when he was like, I'm side quested to deliver this child to the mountain of Skyrim.
Right. It wasn't a mountain from Skyrim.
No, I'm making fun of it because it was so video game-like.
No, but it pretty much did look like a rune statue from Skyrim. It did. The thing you went to. It looked like from the one from Lord of the Rings. Something not Minas Tirith. Is it Minas Tirith?
Minas Tirith's the layered city.
Fuck. Yeah. The one
where they stab him on Weathertop?
Thank you, Weathertop.
Yeah, it did look like Weathertop. Yeah. It looked like a fantasy world. Which was that like the homeworld of the Jedi or some shit? Was that the story?
It's the other first planet that the Jedi are
the other one.
The other one. The other one.
Other one.
That was the other thing I thought was fucking hilarious in the very last one, where it's like, what do you expect me to do? Show up with a laser sword and take on the whole Empire? I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, like...
Luke just did it.
Like, if you don't do it, someone's gonna have to call you back 5 years later to CGI your face on someone who will. You know.
The second, as much as Bill Burr crushed it, it felt like Jon Favreau going like, "Look, this show's spiraling out of control. Do you want to just come back, get a paycheck for one more episode? Because it's getting crazy.
If this is going to be a springboard, I'm going to use it for my friends. Like, we can use this for your dramatic roles."
Are they gonna have? I hope there's a Bill Burr spin-off where it's just that character recording an intergalactic podcast. He's just sitting around being like, hello, good morning.
I would love that, just him in a spaceship cruising around, calling Imperials cunts.
I never get on sci-fi like this when he's like, oh, I'm free to go, and walks away on a planet. Like, how is he going to get off this planet?
I assume like he's an Imperial soldier. He knows how to survive.
Find a spaceship, or is he just planet locked now?
I mean, come on, it's a whole planet.
I guess he just literally spent his whole life exploring one planet.
Or he could just go to another continent and get a ship.
Get a ship? Is the planet inhabited, or is it? I thought it was like just an Imperial base.
I don't know.
He blew up.
I'm not from that planet.
But that happens all the time in sci-fi, where they're like, well, we're stuck here, and the next episode they're out. And it's like, you were on a whole planet. It's not like you're on an island somewhere and built a raft and sailed to the mainland. How the fuck did you get off the planet?
They got shit that flies. That's all you need to know. They got shit that flies.
It's a universe where shit flies.
That's how I was thinking of that one episode where they knocked the one with the Bo-Katan first shows up, and they're on a boat.
That's like, Katie Sackhoff, right?
Yeah, Katie Sackhoff.
Such a silly name. Every time they said it, it's like, I have Bo-Katan's daughter. I was like, what the fuck is a Bo-Katan? Anyway, sorry.
Her name's Bo.
Bo?
Her name's Bo.
Katan. That's a very silly name.
Hey. Bo-Katan. Katie Sackhoff.
It sounds like Bo-Katan.
It does sound like Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan.
That I would prefer that more.
Boca. Yeah, it might be
Boca.
Bo-Katana?
Maybe they're like, that's too close to Boba.
Bo-Katana, why does that sound like something? Like a planet.
You're having a stroke?
No. What's a planet that has a very similar... I think it's from Last Jedi. Bo-Katana, something. There's a planet. I'll think of it. There's a planet in Star Wars that sounds... Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean
they're on a boat. They got hover technology on these planets. Speeder technology. You're telling me you need a boat? Why do you need a boat?
Which one? When?
Whenever they knock the baby into the little pram, gets knocked into the squid thing, and then Bo-Katan comes down and saves all of them.
Oh, yeah.
They're on a boat going across the ocean. Why do you need a boat?
Why do you need a boat? Why do you need any land vehicle in this world?
Why have a walker to yank stuff out of the harbor? You got floating shit. It never made sense to me that the Empire built walkers after they just fought hover tanks.
Yeah.
For 4 years.
Yeah. And then they were using, like, Clone War era, those giant tired things with Bill Burr in the Bill Burr episode.
Oh, the
transports.
The transports with the giant wheels.
Why would you ever have something with wheels, especially if you have raiders?
Well, especially whenever like any like small impact will cause that shit to explode. You might want to use your hover technology.
I mean, there's ships everywhere. Yeah, I don't know. At least Tamora Morrison's getting old enough that his voice is getting a little more Boba accurate.
You know, I gotta admit, at first,
a little grainy.
At first, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about seeing his face as much, but I kind of, by the Bill Burr episode where he's walking around the repainted armor with his helmet off, and he just looks like this scarred up, like, gruff talking dude. I'm like, that's pretty much how I pictured him as a kid.
Not bad.
That's not bad.
But again, that's another thing where it's like internal continuity started to get irritating to me. It's like this kid could be being like fucking murdered and beaten and experimented on. You got time to paint your armor though. Go hang out with Bill Burr. Go get your Mandalorians. It's like, come on, guys. This should have been like as soon as Yoda's taken, it should have been
he's got a hobby kid on Slave One.
Why is it called Slave One in universe? Not in universe. Actually, both. Why is it called Slave One in the real world? Why did they name it that? And why is it called Slave One in Star Wars? For either?
It's never come up.
But it doesn't.
When Django, I think in the continuity of the universe, he steals it from a police facility. It's a police ship, technically.
So why Slave One?
I couldn't tell you.
I want to know back in 1979, shooting Empire. They're like, "What's this fucker's ship's going to be called? Slave One." Why?
Because it sounded menacing and evil, and
I always thought it was
racist.
I always thought it was going to be a computer thing, because computers are slaved to operating systems. So I thought maybe is it like remote controlled,
possibly, yeah.
or what? But I never understood the name. Is there a Slave 2?
Yeah.
Was there a slave? And then this is now the Slave 1, like the Enterprise A?
I think he would have bought another slave, and then would have had Slave 1 and 2.
Which was his favorite slave. I did like they used the bomb from
Attack of the
Clones.
The second he starts pressing that button, that back panel pops open like, you beautiful son of a bitch. God damn it.
It's a cool ship. I never was like, you were a much bigger Boba fan than I was as a kid. But you're wearing the shirt. But his ship definitely in this series made me appreciate the ship a lot more, because I never got the love of the ship because I was a Falcon guy.
Yeah, sure.
So like, it's all right. It's not great or anything, but now I'm like, oh, I get it. It's pretty sweet.
That one scene in the Bill Burr episode where they show the internal mechanics of how it rotates around, fucking so cool.
That was neat.
And I like the way that the pilot's chair, because when he picks him up, it's like Attack of the Clones. So the pilot's chair is perpetually
like that,
like in a locked position, but the compartment underneath like swings into place,
so you can go sit down and
I'm like, come on, man, that's just cool design.
And that's what, as soon as I saw that, and I was like, you built a set for this, I'm like, oh, he's not getting another ship. This is just going to be the ship for the rest of the show.
That's
don't spend money on
or the spin-off that's coming up.
So what's the spin-off going to be?
See, here's my problem with the spin-off. As a guy who's sporting a Boba Fett tattoo, for God's sakes, unless he gets like an adorable pet Rancor that he has to raise, how are you going to have the same fan base carry over?
Yeah.
How are you going to empathize with him? He's just like a killer robot, man.
It's like giving Chewbacca his own series.
Yeah, if Chewbacca was kind of a dick.
That was a real dick. But it just, even in the sense of like, he only works with other characters. It's like giving Kramer his own series, or like a sidekick his own series. Like Boba Fett works best in small doses, and in service to the story, not driving the story.
It's gonna be kind of strange, and like I do find it interesting they're taking their two like notoriously biggest fanboy characters, Fett and Maul, and making them both Don Corleone crime boss leaders.
Yeah, it's weird. Why would he be like, you know what I'm gonna do after saving a little fucking freak thing? I'm gonna head to Tatooine. I'm gonna kill Bib Fortuna
and take over Hutt Palace.
Yeah, I gotta get me some of them dancing girls with the 6 titties. Or 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 6 titties. Why?
Of all places in the galaxy,
Because he hung out there for a while. Oh, I have a logic
But
question.
he would smell so bad.
It was fucking reek. Have you ever seen like pervy fan art of Jabba the Hutt and Slave Leia? Oof, using that tail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
I have one, I think, on my phone right now. Here's an in-universe question.
What do you think the Boba Fett tattoo I was referring to earlier was of?
Just the tail going Jabba's face with that same tongue lolled out as when he was choked to death. I like that he died from autoerotic asphyxiation, technically.
Jabba?
Yeah. He had a half-naked girl choke him to death.
Yeah, and they never said that it was like an unpleasant death. He might have been. He looked like he was enjoying it.
His little tail was flapping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In Empire, Boba Fett would have been paid twice, right? Because
for the capture of Han Solo and
for
the delivery,
Empire,
yeah,
the Empire would have paid him. But then Vader's like he's no good to me, and it's like the Empire will compensate you if he dies. Mm-hmm. But wouldn't they have already paid him because they put out a bounty on him, and then also Jabba had a bounty on him, so he got double dipped.
Yeah, well, I think what's your question? You're asking if
did they ever acknowledge that he got double dipped? Because in the show, it sounds like he's going to go away with no money if Han Solo dies, and Vader has to reassure him, like, "I will pay you if he dies. Don't worry." But if he didn't die, that means he's not going to pay him. He's going to go get the bounty from Jabba. But then what happened to the Imperial bounty?
I thought the implication of that line was that if he dies, we'll compensate whatever Jabba the Hutt was going to play.
Right, but if he either way, where's the bounty they put on him?
It's right there. He paid him.
Did they already pay him?
Presumably.
So he's just being greedy. He's like, I want to double dip and get 2 bounties off this one guy.
Well, I think that was the deal in the first place. Is that like Vader wanted the Falcon, and then Jabba wanted Han Solo.
Yeah. So it seemed like watching this movie. It seemed like he wasn't getting anything if Han Solo died, and Vader had to be like, no, we'll give you a little something. But he should have already been walking away with a pretty hefty.
How does this show make it look like that?
Because it's just him being like, he's no good to me, dude. Why? Like, be careful. This is my fucking bread and butter right there. And then he's like, no, don't worry, we'll pay you. It's like, didn't he already pay him? And wouldn't the bounty from Empire be a lot higher than some slug's bounty?
Well, so you're saying that him going back to the palace, it's like him taking back what's his from Jabba the Hutt?
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Oh.
I was just thinking the continuity of Empire itself. It's like, it feels like Boba handed over Han for free. The way the dialogue goes of how concerned he is that he might die. And I'm like, well...
I just assumed he got paid twice.
Yeah, I just thought... You'd think he would have been like, if he dies, at least I got a lot of money. But no.
He's got a lot of debts to pay, that dude. All right? Like, he's got a lot of child support.
He's got a lot of little Bobas out there.
Yeah, crazy. This is littered with fets.
So many fets.
But
yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Is it going to be some crime lord series, I guess? I don't know. I bet you they'll bring Darth Maul into that one.
You know what they should have? A story where he goes out and tries to track down the rest of his family, i.e. all the clones that survived.
The Bad Batch?
Nah, fuck the Bad Batch.
I never watched those
nah, he goes out and it's just a series of Tamara Morrison on green screens.
So and many Tamara Morrison.
Each one's like a bartender, like cleaning a guy's like, what can I get you? And another one's like a barber who's like, can you care for a haircut?
It has to be a lady.
Yeah. Oh, I do declare, Mr. Bounty Hunter.
I'll join your quest of fixing up Jabba's palace, turning it into affordable housing.
Each episode's like the debutante. And the music cues in.
I'm just curious, I don't know. It's like, it's so obvious what they're trying to do. And so I'm like, my brain is going, I'm kind of curious as to what this Boba Fett thing is. Oh, wait. This is so crafted to make people curious. You know what bugged me about it? And I know I'm a bitter, jaded old fuck. But it was like Twitter erupted similarly to how it erupted in the Game of Thrones Season 8. Because 90% of content on Twitter in regards to this shit is bought by... There's whole companies that arrange to have users on Twitter, heavy quotes, compliment your series or drive it out there, get hashtags out there, spread the word of it. It's the same shit that Russia's doing with the U.S. elections. Movie studios do it all the time. Mm-hmm. There's no fucking regulations about that. Who cares? Sell your fucking movie. You don't have to go see it.
I watched this show and I can walk again. Children have sight.
User joined 2 minutes ago. You're like, okay. But it was very similar this morning because I watched it last night. I was on night shift last night with the kid, and so about 3 a.m. I was able to watch it when she finally fell asleep. And this morning before I went to bed, I looked at Twitter, and it was reminiscent of Game of Thrones season 8, where people were like putting the gifs of like people freaking out and being like, Daenerys dragon, did you see? OMG, my life changed forever. Oh, it was a very similar vibe to like Luke showing up. Oh my God, this was my face with Baby Yoda. Blah blah blah. I'm like, this feels similar to bought and paid for tweets in order to push an emotion that you might not have completely nailed.
Is it, or is it just people that write bought and paid for tweets have the same like-minded capabilities of people who just normally write tweets?
But it's so funny when you see all these Twitter accounts and you click on it and it's like joined August 2020. You're like,
Oh, my favorite was like looking at a famous outgoing president's page and like the number of people...
outgoing. We'll see. Let's do another podcast in a month and see how outgoing he is.
The fucking number of people posting what was it, like, I'm moving out of this country, it's ruined my life. It was
exact copy.
And copy paste. That tag was like on 70 messages, and I'm like, yeah, that's credible.
Yeah,
way to be subtle.
Credible. You can't do that with politics. Do it with entertainment. Who cares? You know, if you're gullible enough to go onto Twitter and get your opinions from there over movies, movies are optional. Who gives a fuck? But, you know, keep that out of politics. But, I don't know. Yeah, I really liked it. I'm being harder on it than I think it deserves. But I did find criticisms involved with it.
Yeah, I don't know. After this shit show of a year, I'm like, you know what? You show me a show where I didn't expect... If you told me at the premiere of this stuff, dude, by the end of it, it's gonna be like this, like fucking Mando gang cruising around in Slave One, nuking shit. Like, fuck you,
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, beating. I'm like, fuck you, I'm not in whatsoever. But the way they unfolded the story slowly, like even just like teasing Boba Fett's armor in the first episode, I was like, really, we're gonna go there? But when it finally happened, I was like, you know what? For better or worse, fine, sure, go with it. Like this is not what I expected, but like I'm not hating it. Like whatever, it's
the thing. I don't hate it. I'm being critical, but I'm not.
Yeah,
it's no fucking new Star Trek. That's for sure.
Yeah. In terms of like pulling off a pretty insane task, I was like, well done. Yeah. Like, you know,
expensive looking as shit too. How much did like the series cost them?
Can't imagine. Probably as much as like a trilogy. Because like, how long is it cumulatively? You got 16 episodes. Each one's half an hour.
Each one's about, some of them are an hour. Some of them are like 30 minutes, but averaging around 40. So
we're talking about a minimum of 8, somewhere between like 8 to 10 hours. That whole series.
I'd say about 10 to 12. 8 episodes a season on average, 40 minutes.
I'm telling you, man. Like, I feel like they probably spent like a trilogy's worth. On that.
Well, especially season 2. Season 2 looked a lot better than season 1.
Oh yeah.
And a lot more to it.
Also, I think they tightened up that rear projection technology.
Oh yeah,
too.
It's like that's amazing. I guess all the shows are going to be shot on that now.
Well, it's smart because they can do anything they want under that dome,
design
right?
sets around it too.
Apparently, your cast and crew will go fucking crazy, like in Jurassic World. Titfucker, whatever the new one's called. Apparently the crew's losing their goddamn mind because they're all locked in together.
Oh yeah, is it they're doing the same screen technology?
Not the same screen technology, but they do have a reinforced like bubble that you like once you're in. You can't leave production and shit.
Right. Like Tom Cruise yelling at everybody.
Well, this came up in conversation. What the fuck happened?
It's just someone recorded him freaking out, which you kind of like you have to wrestle of like. Was it appropriate for him to freak out? Because the production of the new Mission Impossible is everyone's looking to see if it's safe to resume production.
Right.
And so he just saw 2 crew members standing right next to each other, and he just lost it on them. And he was like, if anyone we have fucking rules, 6 feet apart, fucking rules, masks on, blah, blah, blah. If I see anybody breaking it again, you're fucking fired. There's like no ifs, and or buts about it. And I was listening to it going, he's not wrong.
He's got there's millions of dollars on
millions
that
and millions and millions of dollars. And he's a producer too. It's not like some actor freaking out. He's a producer.
Well, producer star of the fucking franchise. But
then at the same time, he sort of dipped into like people's lives are depending on us. People's he went into Messiah mode a little bit because he's a Messiah.
What do you expect from
right? Yeah. People are going to lose their homes and not able to go to school if we don't do this right. And I was like, all right, Jesus. Calm it down a little bit.
And only I and the power of the Church of Dianetics. It's like, okay, Tom, they got it. They got it, Tom.
It's like, your thetans are ruining this production.
Whenever me and Katie talked about this, Tom, maybe not, right?
Not good.
Oh my God. If he says Nicole, just put a dart in his neck. Just dart him.
Just goes down. So, do you think Pedro Pascal is completely out, or do you think they're giving him a bit of a smack on the nose?
I guarantee the next couple seasons will be about like the quest for Mandalore or whatever.
Well, definitely he's not back for the next season 3.
No, so I'm thinking like they'll have him drop in like you'll see there'll be a
He'll
big
be Boba to Boba.
Exactly, there'll be like an impossible fight situation. Then that Beskar spear clips the monster in the face, and they pan up, and it's just him being like, "Did you miss me?" And then they give him some money, completely bitter.
Give him voiceover cash.
Yeah, that way he can't pull a full Boyega.
Yeah, hey, good for him, man.
Yeah, God bless him.
Because I'm glad he cut through the bullshit of Disney.
Yeah. He deserved
Someone's
it, man.
got to.
He deserved to. He out of everybody in those movies, because like let's be fair, Rey was just doing the standard Jedi arc. Poe was the rogue, but like Finn was a unique character that had so much potential, and
that's why I was so sad that he wasn't the Jedi. We said this way years ago on our Jedi podcast. How neat it would have been to have a clone. First of all, I thought it would have been neat if he was a clone stormtrooper and a Jedi. Would have said everything you need to say about what the Force is.
Literally anyone could be.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not based on your genes anymore. That was just the old guard rule of even the old Republic Jedi were a little snobby and shit. You know?
Right.
Could be anyone.
Yeah.
But no, he just became...
but he was Force sensitive, Chris.
Yeah. Is that what that was?
Yeah. You remember that really ham-fisted last-second line that they shoved in at the last second that it completely revealed everything you need to know about his character?
They didn't ever say Force sensitive. That was like expanded... Or they said that.
And the worst part is they tee it up. They have a moment to do it and everything where Rey's like, what did you want to say? He totally just goes, oh, never mind. And it's like, really? You're going to pull that card? Give the man anything.
It was weird because they played him like the comic relief in the first one. And then the second one, he was the comic relief. Because he even like showing up on the casino planet, and he's all like, whoa,
I don't get what... His character's a little bit all over the place in the first one. He's definitely the goofball in the second one.
He's a goofball in the second one.
But in the first one,
goofy.
He is definitely goofy, but like, I don't know if that was like... That came later, or...
If that was through improv?
They added the severity later, like after... Like, was the second thing?
I always think back to the, I'm in charge now, Phasma. I'm in charge now.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like... It doesn't feel like the same guy's like, you don't know nothing about
Well, that's the thing,
like 20 seconds earlier.
He's so jaded in part 3. He's become such a badass.
Isn't it kind of revelatory that 3 trilogies now, 3 different cast, 9 different actors, every single time they make one of these things, they hate it by the end. Yeah. By the third movie, they're all like, you couldn't fucking pay me to be in one of these ever fucking again.
Yeah, they really do. They really do.
All 3 of that's 3 for 3 now.
Except Mark Hamill, who's just like, I got a paycheck.
Well, I think Mark Hamill, it took him a bit, because there was a while he didn't want to be known as Luke, and then eventually he's like, I'm Luke. Like, I'll fucking...
Really, his plot line was the only redeemable thing from Jedi, really. I mean, the effects of the second Death Star fight are amazing. But all the scenes with the teddy bears on Forests of California is so pointless.
Yeah.
It's so meaningless, and there's no character development. But Luke is great.
He's my, like, whenever I think that's also partially why I was into the finale a little bit more. That's one of my favorite incarnations of Luke Skywalker. Is green lightsaber Jedi Master Luke, where you're just like, oh, you just can't... He's the son of Vader. Yeah. Like, he's the coolest looking Jedi, you know?
Yeah, no, I think, and again, like, my brain always goes to the technical side of the shit. I thought it was lame to have Luke show, because it's something you'd almost do if your show was failing. Like, there's a great story. Let me tip on Star Trek for a second, because that's my fucking second universe. When they made Star Trek The Next Generation, they had to argue constantly to not reference the original series.
Gotcha.
Like, we don't want this to be about just remembering those guys. We want to make our own new thing. You can't do that anymore. Cut to 30 years later with Star Trek Discovery. It's not doing well. So what do they do in this finale of Season 1? Ooh, Spock's showing up. Ooh, the Enterprise is showing up. We got to get this shit in here because people aren't watching our shows. We got to give them what they know. Mandalorian was doing really well. They didn't need to put anything in we knew. They were making all new things to know.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
They were making new great characters. So
and what was cool was like in an age where, like, again, they filmed in a bubble and like stuff didn't get spoiled. They were doing a pretty good job of being like, this is here's an entire fucking new character. Yeah. It's Nick Nolte as an Ugnaught, and you're like, I had no idea. Yeah. Now he's one of my favorite things. I know. Where did this come from?
Fans don't typically know what they love until they love it. But if you just keep giving them the same thing over and over again, it's like eating your favorite meal every day. Eventually, it's going to get fucking disgusting. You know. I don't know. Do you have any more? Because I kind of want to rant a little bit about Cyberpunk, but do we have any more Mandalorian?
Nah, man. I'm pretty happy with the end of it, man.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to sound like a crusty old fuck. It was fun.
Yeah.
But it just it did things I was hoping it wouldn't do.
Right.
Before the season even aired, when I was like, okay, this is how they might go in the wrong direction, and they kind of did a little for me.
Right.
But it's very subjective.
Right.
Because, I mean, I'm sure there's bars full of people cheering at Luke showing up. I'm not one to shit on that emotion.
Right.
But for me, just sitting watching it on my iPad, I was like, it's kind of lame. I wish they hadn't brought Luke into it. Wouldn't have been. Like, you already set up Ahsoka. Maybe have her show up and say, I'm going to take the kid after all. You know?
You
like,
knew they were kind of in trouble whenever the second they're like, he'll put out a beacon and a Jedi will answer, da-da-da. And you're like, well, because there was
there's only one left.
four major, yeah, that's true. Four major people coming, like Ezra, Mace Windu, Cal Kestis from Fallen Order. And I'm like, well, you can't do Ezra because they wouldn't put his first live action appearance in this role where you don't know it's him.
Don't know it's him, yeah.
Cal Kestis, most people don't know because they didn't play the video game. Not half as many people play Fallen Order.
Who that is, yeah.
Yeah, who watched the show, so that's out. And it's like, Sam Jackson, get real. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it did kind of like had to be Luke.
It had to be Luke.
It had to be Luke, yeah.
Yeah, or Ahsoka, because he already set her up.
Which would have been even funnier if, like...
Jokes, I'm going to paint him.
She was just like, remember I told you to go to that rock? I just love a good entrance.
They should have just... it made... Again, I'm repeating myself. It just made no sense that he didn't go and get her. Even, like, have her get knocked out. Or have a line of, like, I looked for her, she was already gone. They're mysterious, these Jedi. Anything to make it make sense. But no, she's not there, because we need Luke to show
Boba
up.
Fett's I'm not going to save a Jedi.
Yeah.
People were saying, like, I wonder what would have happened if Boba showed up to pick up Fennec and saw Luke Skywalker leaving with Grogu. And he was just like, wait a minute. Son of a bitch.
I didn't sign up for this. He would be good to me, did.
You think Grogu knows that the guy who saves him in the end is the reason why Order 66 happened? Is the son of the guy who killed everybody and the reason he had to go hiding in the first place?
It's getting too muddled.
That's what happens when you orbit around the same family for too long.
Because it's funny, because I didn't even really think along the lines of... Because it's such a different Boba Fett, I didn't even really think about the fact that... Oh, that's the guy you had a shootout with in the hallways like 5 years ago. And transferred his friend, and then knocked you into a Sarlacc pit. Or no, I guess Han knocked him in.
Han knocks him in, but...
Cut his gun.
He makes him look like a punk.
Yeah, he makes him look like a bitch.
That fucking go-to is always that little grappling hook, and yet it never seems to work. Every time
seems to work.
Like Mando on Mando, Mando on Jedi, every time they use that little grappler...
Kind of fucks him up.
Works on a Cyclops, I guess.
It would work if he wanted to swing like Spider-Man, but I think that's really it.
That's about it.
He's got a jetpack. Did his big long gun get blown up with his ship?
Who dat? I guess so, yeah, because...
From the animated Christmas special,
the big, the vapor, the disintegrator.
The Jawa disintegrating gun.
Yeah, man. They're making a Nerf gun of that thing. It looks sick.
Oh, yeah?
It looks awesome. I kind of want it.
Overall, I mean, it was good. But I have my nitpicks. And I think that's all they are. Is nitpicks and kind of disappointed that they went so far into memberberry territory.
Right.
You're doing so good. You're making your own fucking thing.
Yeah.
You're doing what George Lucas wanted to do with the prequels but failed miserably at, was just make a whole new universe of characters that will be memorable. You did it!
I think that's what was so cool about the first season. Like, and actually to the lesser extent, the second season, but it was still there. I saw someone put it really well where they were like, what the sequels and prequels were missing is that Star Wars was like this ongoing, this universe where everything was ongoing. You had to catch up to it. All the ships were dirty and the droids were used and broken and all this shit. So you kind of had to catch up to it. But in the prequels and the sequels, there's a lot of scenes of just like, the Republic is going to be reorganized into the Empire. Like, Finn, the ship is running out of fuel. We have to be there. Or like, who's her parents? We really have to reinforce what's going on. Star Wars, the original trilogy, didn't really fucking have that. Like,
was that the first sequel that didn't just carbon copy the first movie?
Empire?
I'm trying to think of before 1980. A sequel was just the first movie again with more money.
Godfather Part 2, is that before or after Empire?
Don't know. Godfather Part 2.
Because even actually that one, if you think about it, someone tries to assassinate the Dawn.
It's because it's the second half of the first book.
And it's the whole family falling apart. Yeah, it's kind of the same story.
But I think people were shocked to go into theaters and be like, this is a brand new story, and it's awesome. It's just continuing their lives, and it doesn't end. And then Jedi was just Star Wars again.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
With a heist at the beginning. But other than that, it was just Star Wars again. Interesting. Overall, though, I mean, I would definitely recommend watching Mandalorian. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a fun time, man. I really did enjoy the last like 4 episodes of this season a lot. I thought it built up really well, and then like was satisfying emotionally and shit. Like I felt like I was glad it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yep.
Because I was really worried. I was like, oh, how are they gonna push a third season of like Mission Quest and shit?
No.
I was glad, man, that they didn't.
Yeah.
They went with a logical closure point for those characters.
I think I would have been okay with 8 more standalone episodes of just 8 bounty hunts.
Just random random planets and stuff.
Just him, the only guy. Stop bringing in fucking Carl Weathers. And
Hey, you gotta still going.
just anyone you recognize. Stop bringing him in. I think I would have been.
What
totally
about
okay.
Death Sentence and 12 Systems guy?
Yeah, he's gonna show up.
He's gonna show
and then
up.
Buttface.
But he's got like a cyborg arm now.
Yeah, he's yeah.
No, he's a doctor.
No one said he died.
No.
Yeah, he could be very well alive.
I think he was still writhing on the floor of the bar whenever they were talking to Han.
bleeding the fuck out. Yeah, everyone just sort of walked away from him.
But literally, the music keeps playing. No one calls for medical
Why
assistance.
has no one done that sketch? Where it's just him like like basically the Monty Python Black Knight thing.
Yeah.
He's lost the arm.
Well, I just imagine whenever Han, like, sorry about the mess, he flicks the quarter, and you just see him at the corner, like, like this trail of
Crawling
blood
out.
as he's dragging himself across the floor.
And the old racist bartender, I guess, lost his job because that cantina had a robot bartender when they went back to it.
That's correct. Affirmative action hit Tatooine, and they started hiring a lot more droids. R5-D4 was finally able to get his life together after that.
Droids are very problematic, aren't they?
How they're kind of slaves. Yeah.
You made a sentient creature and enslaved them.
And, like, they're brutally murdered en masse, and no one cares.
And our, like, beloved heroes are basically, like, 1700s southern landowners.
yeah, they just trade them off with no regard.
Yeah. No regard at all. Even in the new movies, they were like, 3PO was like, we're just going to wipe this fucking droid's memory, right? Like, we're just going to reset him.
Actual dialogue from the film.
And he was like, I'm looking at my friends, and even the reaction of them all being like, okay, wipe his memory, click.
And, like, is it okay whenever they shoot those Imperial droids? Like, are they also, like, cutesy-wootsy, like R2-D2 and have friends and such?
But are they asshole? Maybe they're not cutesy. Maybe are they programmed to be dicks?
Like, over the rest of the Imperial. Why are the Imperial so sour?
I don't know.
They're all, like, is it
I'm
just
very upset. Why are Republicans and conservatives so sour?
But maybe that's what it is, like, whenever upper management's kind of, like, pure evil, it percolates downwards.
We are a species of followers, that's for sure.
So maybe that's what it is.
We have to have lemming DNA. But I also like, too, there was one line that I thought was great in the Bill Burr episode where it's like, people think they want freedom, but they want
that
order.
whole speech.
That applies to both sides of the political spectrum of how we view each other. Because it's like the right wing thinks the left wing wants to censor everybody and cancel culture, and then the left wing thinks the right wing wants to stop people being able to choose to who they marry and who they love and shit. Both sides think the other side's the empire.
Yep.
And so that line, again, because Disney's not going to fucking put their flag up too hard in any direction.
No.
They're a company. So that line...
Right down the middle.
Both sides could take that line and be like, this is my mantra now.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, again, like, I think that's why the episode was so effective. I'm like, that's the mentality of what both sides can look at that scene and empathize with that character's saying. And I'm like, that's Bill Burr's whole constituents. That episode is just like, I love that face he makes.
Oh,
whenever he's like,
he's
like, with the rhydonium you brought us, blah, blah, blah. And you see that realization, like, oh, I was so focused on surviving, I didn't realize I just helped the last person in the world. I want to fucking help out. And just seeing him realize, like, I can't do this again. I have to break. I love that little smile he flashes Mando right before he shoots him. Like, sorry, I fucking tried.
That's what I meant, because he was actually, like, leg shaking.
Yeah.
Just listening to him talk, and he had this, like, crazy half smile on his face.
But
he's gonna fucking shoot him.
I love that part where it's just like, I can't compromise. I told myself once I'm never gonna help these fucking people again. Even if I have to fly out of here on Slave One and take a pop shot from like 5,000 yards up, I'm gonna do it because
just let him go.
Yeah. But
so I wonder what his story was. Do you think he enlisted, or do you think he was thinned, or was he Django'd? Was he thinned or Django'd?
There's a line, I can't remember exactly what he says. I think it's a character. He's like, I used to be like that, but I'm not anymore, which leads me to believe maybe he was a devout.
He was just he agreed with the Empire.
I like to think Bayfield was like some kid from Space Boston who wanted to join the
Empire's
academy.
Cleaning shit up.
Yep.
They're
getting rid of those filthy Jedi, those religious fanatics, finally cleaning them out of the military. And then so he joined, and then all of a sudden Operation Cinder. You remember you played Battlefront 2? The story mode?
I don't think I ever finished the story mode.
So the Operation Cinder is right at the top of the game. It's whenever they have all those satellite dishes and they just murder. It's
I do remember that. Yeah.
Palpatine's like death hand switch. Fucking.
This is a hologram.
The hologram is just like nuke these planets if I die.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea that Bill Burr was like all pro Empire until that, and he was just like, I'm fighting for the worst people in the galaxy.
Oh, is that what they were referencing?
Operation
was the
Cinder.
Battlefront 2 thing?
Yeah,
I didn't even
because
put
that happened on multiple planets.
Oh, okay.
What was the other Battlefront 2 reference? Oh, cycler rifle. He's like, pass me that cycler rifle. That's totally straight out of Battlefront 2.
Interesting. So the continuity in current universe is the Battlefront 2 storyline, Rebels, and Clone Wars. That's it.
In terms of like peripheral stuff
that's no longer Legends. What Disney is making canon is
yes.
I guess the other video game too, Jedi Fallen Order is canon.
Yeah, it depends on how deep you want to go. Like for example, on Reddit, I saw someone decoded what Boba Fett's little hologram says when he calls up. He's like, "Take a look at your kid just got kidnapped and your ship's destroyed, but let me show you something about Boba." So Boba got his armor back in the day. Very odd timing is all I'm saying for him just to take him down.
Convenience, I believe is the word you're looking for.
So anyways, he's in his code, it says something about his dad's mentor being Jaster, or it cuts off. Jaster Muriel, if you really want to go deep cut Boba Fett, before the prequels was Boba Fett's real name before he accidentally killed his superior, fled the planet, and became a bounty hunter called Boba Fett.
It's truth and legends sort of thing. They just cherry picking.
Exactly. So now, I think it was right after Attack of the Clones, this book called Jango Fett Open Seasons retconned it all together. That Jaster Muriel was in fact Jango's mentor, who was an OG Mandalorian.
Gotcha.
Jango was a foundling. He brought him in. Jaster Muriel's armor looks kind of like Boba Fett's.
Okay.
Like with the green and like the bantha skull on the arm. So presumably he's repainting it to pay honor to the dude, his dad's mentor. So like again, it depends on how deep you want to go. Because like, does that count? Now? Like
they're just sort of they're just cherry picking. But then they're also burying themselves in continuity because they're like, we also have 18 ongoing comic series, which are all canon. And we already showed the final fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. So, sorry, that's done.
I think Filoni's just trying to like pull as much from the books as possible at this point.
Push it all in.
Yeah, to pull this like out of a nosedive. Like, because I'm not sure if it, because nowadays people just put a quote next to someone's head. Next thing you know, like, did you ever see that Morgan Freeman quote about blowjobs? And it's like, it doesn't make any sense. There was one for Kathleen Kennedy where she's like, we don't have a bunch of books to pull from. And then it's one of those memes to like the next line. It's a picture of like Darth Maul from the Clone Wars and he's saying liar. And it's like, yeah, seriously, like you have a bunch of stories that are tried and tested.
I guess just copy them.
That's how Marvel did that for fucking like 10 plus years and 20 something movies that they were referencing stories that people like. Yeah. So if that's all you gotta do, just go with it.
And it does get that slimy feel to it though of corporations. It's no longer just some weirdo's vision trying to sell toys. It's now a whole conglomerate of weirdo's vision trying to sell toys.
That's correct. And that hasn't changed since 1977. Speaking of selling merchandise that's not fucking up to par.
It's a great game. We're talking Cyberpunk 2077, and it has so many caveats. So it just got taken down off the PlayStation Store.
Did.
So if anyone knows, this game has been in development since 2010, 11. They announced it in 2012. I've been waiting for this game for 8 years of like, this looks like the greatest fucking game ever. And then they completely fucking fumbled the release because the PC version is apparently amazing. There's no complaints. It's got a really high user score on Metacritic. It's really well done. But they just completely fucking ignored the console version, and they just botched it. So, 10-year development, and they made it unplayable on current-gen consoles, even though has been delayed for years. Mm-hmm. So what the fuck were they going to do if it had come out 4 years ago, 5 years ago? You know what I mean? So, it's frustrating because I have a PS4, and it's a really fun game. But imagine Red Dead came out, and all the textures look like PlayStation 2. Mm-hmm. You know, look like original Xbox. If you move too fast, the frame rate drops to the 10s. Oof. Everything's just clicking. When you go and talk to someone, there's like a good 10 seconds of just the character animation until they go and start talking because the processor's trying to catch up.
How did that happen?
I don't know, and it's fishy because like CD Projekt Red has huge credibility in the quote unquote gaming community because of the Witcher series and everything. How much free stuff they offer. They don't do special editions. They don't do season passes and all this shit. If they have downloadable content, extra content, it's cheap and it's expansive. It's like it was like $15 or something for the expansion for The Witcher, and it was 50 hours of gameplay and a whole new map. Like, they've really earned a good reputation, and they just flushed it down the toilet in one fell swoop because it seemed fishy because all of the leading up to release, all they showed was PC footage. And they made you believe that was the game, and then 2 days after it released, they issued an apology being like, sorry we didn't show console footage, but I mean, can you really expect consoles to perform as well as a high-end PC? It's like, well, then why the fuck did you release it?
Why'd you release it? That's like being a car company and being like, well, listen, unless you get the LE edition, your wheels might pop off your fucking cars. Sorry. Why'd you buy it? Should have gotten the fucking luxury edition, you pussy.
Well, then why do you even make that car? Yeah. It's so weird. It's so slimy that and it's weird coming from a company that has been notoriously not slimy. To be so kind of...
Now, given the evidence that we have like a game development that lasted years...
10 years.
10 years. A PC version that works optimally, but like clearly, do you think maybe it was because of the... Like, I immediately think it's because PlayStation 4 and 5, like their console wars have been... As in the high turnover?
It runs like shit on the next-gen consoles, too. They haven't even released a PlayStation 5 edition.
So what do you think it is?
When you play it on next-gen consoles, it's like playing an old game on the new consoles, how you can reverse play some games. So it's the same shit. It's not performing any better. I think it's... I imagine they had to outsource the console ports. So maybe the company they outsourced to, which is really bad, or didn't do their job, and they did actually spend all the time focusing on the PC version. But at the same time, unless you have a $6,000 PC, you're not going to really be able to play this game the way it's meant to be played. So it's such a tiny sliver of people who can play it, to not think of that along the way. And then it was supposed to come out a month on my birthday, and I was so bummed that it got delayed a month. When that happened, their stock dropped by like 60%. So I think they were also like, maybe they did take a look at the console version and go, okay, this is fucked up. We'll get to work patching it, and in 6 months it'll look great.
But we got to work on a release date for December.
We got to get it out.
Yeah.
Our stock is dropping too quickly. But then that was, I think, the wrong choice. Just release the PC version and say, okay, console, you got to wait a little bit. I mean, I think that would still...
So what happens now? Do you get a refund? How does this work?
It's been taken off of the... I bought the physical copy because... the company's great. The physical copy is so full of collector stuff, and it's just a standard edition. So I was like, I want all the collector stuff.
So you can have memorabilia of how disappointed you were?
I was, but also I know the company even though they're being weird about it, being like, we're going to take a Christmas break, and then we'll get back to it, and we'll release some patches.
You're never seeing those people again.
Maybe fucking work through Christmas on this one, guys. But I do have faith that they will. Within 2 or 3 months, they'll have patched it up to as good as it possibly can be. It'll probably look like Red Dead in 2 or 3 months of patches. They just ran out of time. So I'm hanging on to it, and I want to see what they do with it. But then they've also announced, which again, kind of fishy, they've also announced that they're going to be releasing a PlayStation 5 Enhanced Edition in a year. So
Excuse me? When their fucking current edition's barely functioning?
Yeah. So that'll be more like the PC version. Still not up to max settings fucking PC, but it'll be closer to it. But that's going to be a whole other release. It's not going to be like an update you can download on PS5. Right. It's going to be a whole new $80 you got to spend. So it's weird. It's just weird. It's like finding out that fun uncle touched his fucking nephew, you know what I mean?
Was there a CEO takeover? Like, it's like some curmudgeonly old man who has dollar signs in his eyes and cigars in his mouth?
I don't know.
Fucking running it now?
Or maybe creative director quit.
Joined this company to suck joy out of children's hearts.
I don't know, because like...
His name's Mr. Blackthorn or something?
It's going to be Blackthorn. But I don't really follow gaming like insider shit enough to know. But I know that they were under scrutiny a while ago for their crunch time insanity. Because most... Which, I don't know. I have trouble sympathizing with people who bitch about having to work too hard on creative endeavors. Because it's like that. Like that's kind of the deal you sign up for. Your life is.
But wasn't that Rockstar or Pixar someplace? They were like shouting verbal abuse and getting stressed out, and like
that's
putting cigarettes out in nipples or something like that.
I don't know. That's obviously insane. The Cyberpunk one or the CD Projekt Red one was they were just complaining that the way game cycles typically work is for the first. Usually games take about 4 or 5 years to make.
Okay.
So the first 4 years, it's like a 9 to 5 job. And then the last 6 months for release, it's crunch. It's called the crunch, and it's like sometimes you're up for 3-4 days trying to meet deadlines to get shit done, and it's just kind of known that that's how it works. Like as the closer you get to release date, the harder you have to work.
Makes sense.
And you make tons of fucking money. Mm-hmm. It's sort of the deal you sign up for, right? Isn't that like the fun about creative endeavors is that it's not just a 9 to 5 thing?
When your boss is pouring that third mug of hot coffee on your head.
I mean, there was no evidence of that shit
I don't know, Kurt. I've heard otherwise.
I don't know about other studios, perhaps. I know Naughty Dog got in shit for some treating their employees like shit. There's never been any reports of employee harassment at CD Projekt Red. Just
no one that survived
it, but just workload. But I don't know. I think that's such a bitchy thing. Of like, I had to work really hard at the end. It's like, yeah, it's called making creative shit with a deadline. Like sometimes you don't sleep for a month when you're making shit. That's how it works.
You don't know. You haven't seen inside there the monstrosities,
insanity going on,
horrors that are being committed for so you can play Cyberpunk.
I know their bonuses were based on whether or not they got over a 90 on Metacritic, and they didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, so none of them are going to get their bonuses now.
Oh, that can't be fun in 2020.
I like that, though, where it's like, if you don't make a good game, you're not going to get a bonus. It's like, yeah, you're getting paid massive amounts of money to do it anyways, and it's going to be a big-ass bonus at the end of it. You don't get it unless you deliver. It's like, yeah, great. I kind of don't. It's not like you didn't get paid at all leading into it.
Or someone forgot to slip that Metacritic critic a handy.
Right? Get some Russian bots in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Blow them up being like, this game made my children walk again. It got me my job back.
50 out of 10.
We now have the cure for coronavirus in our blood.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's disappointing because it is sort of like, imagine Red Dead Redemption 2. How great the game mechanics are, how great the story is, how fun and interactive it is, but then it's loading like shit, glitching, crashing, and all the textures look like it's from 20 years ago.
This whole time I keep thinking it's like you're talking about the online version, but this is just the story mode.
It's just the game.
Oh, God.
And they keep referencing Red Dead because that's a game that came out first for consoles, and it looks amazing, Red Dead. Even though it always bugged me that, I don't know if you knew this, because did you play Red Dead right out of the gate on day one release?
The
main story?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Did you notice when they changed the lighting on it? Because they released the online, and the online wasn't able to function with the settings from the main game. But the only way, because they kind of leashed off each other to run, to get the online looking better was to make the offline look worse. So I think it was like, it was about a month or two after the online launched, a patch came out, and all of a sudden the main game looked a lot worse than it had before. And I think at that point Rockstar had moved on to the PC version and didn't give a shit anymore. Like, we made our money. I mean, they're pretty unscrupulous too, Rockstar. Just look at the monetization practices of the online, especially now that they're selling it for real world money.
That's true.
It's like, fuck, give it to you for free if you're going to charge that much to do anything in it.
Right.
But that was really a bummer for Red Dead, that they had to reduce the actual offline graphics. Having said that, this map that's smaller than Red Dead, with less characters and non-player characters going on, looks 100 times worse somehow. Because they went the other way. They focused on PC first and then console. Red Dead went console first and then PC.
Ah, okay.
So I don't know. It's disappointing.
Maybe that's what it is, that they tried to go big instead of going working with console first and then transferring over to PC.
They didn't sit and actually work out how to get the standardized system, which is why developers like consoles, because it's standardized. You don't have to worry about what graphics card you have. They didn't figure out how to utilize that the best they could, and instead they just made it, hey, you have a $6,000 gaming rig, because you're gonna need it.
Explains 10 years of fucking delays too.
But 10 years ago was still Xbox. I don't even think 360 was out then. PlayStation 2 was 10 years. 2010?
Yeah, 360 was out.
So 360. 360 was out in 2010.
Be more like Cyberpunk 2067. Am I right? Am I right?
I didn't realize 10 years ago was only one console generation ago. I thought
I got a 360 late, so I might be wrong.
I'm trying to think when I got my 360. It has been a while, hasn't it?
Mine was because I remember mine must have been out for a while because it was on sale on like Easter weekend for like $100, and I was like, oh, I'm getting myself a 360.
And I guess PlayStation 4 has been out for like 8 years now. Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
I also got one of those very late.
Like 8 years, yeah. So you started this game developing with the idea in mind of consoles and PCs being at that stage is pretty fucking crazy. To have it not work now in 2020.
I also love the idea of some developers saying like, hey, did you work on that thing yet? Oh!
Right.
Fuck.
Super disappointing.
I did not.
And it sucks because it is a really fun game. It mechanically it's really fun, but then everything about it is failing miserably. All the clothing. It's got a really sexy body, but clothes are just terrible.
You mean Keanu?
Yeah. Oh, he's irritating in it because
how dare you?
He is.
Keanu Reeves is a treat. For the eyes and ears.
That feels like this guy's going to be your like Jarvis for the game. So we were just going to play it safe and cast a popular celebrity. Where it's like I don't know if he completely works in the role for who he's playing, like a terrorist.
Okay.
And you're supposed to hate him.
Why didn't they cast Benicio del Toro?
Why didn't they just cast an unknown? Like.
Nah, they gotta use it. I like the big celebrity angle.
They got to do it, but I mean, like Geralt of Rivia was an unknown.
You know who they should have cast? Gerard Butler. He's unlikable as fuck.
Fat, greasy hair. I'm going to kill you now.
That's your Gerard Butler.
Shitty French. It's an interesting story if you don't mind a little bit of spoilers for it.
Go for it.
It's just so it's Keanu Reeves. The world of Cyberpunk, so obviously it's like all the things you plug into your head, and everyone's got CPUs in their brain, so you can get viruses and shit like that. You always have to be flushed out.
So wait, the world of Cyberpunk is in fact an illusion, like the Matrix. It's not real.
No. It's just that the world of Cyberpunk is like everyone's half robot now and half human.
So it's Back to the Future
arms,
too.
Kinda, yeah. He got cybernetic arms and implants, and yeah, I guess so. He's got his metal head and everything. So they're more like the Borg, but not visually looking awful. You know what I mean? They still have your individuality.
Less bald women.
No, a lot more bald women. And then Keanu Reeves is a terrorist who nuked the city like 50 years ago, and the guy who owned the building wanted to punish him more than just by killing him, so he took his consciousness and put it on a computer and stuck him into a purgatory. And then so later on you go and do this heist where you're trying to steal this chip, you don't know what it is, and the case breaks, so you have to put the chip in your head, and it's Keanu, and it's his awareness, and so the game is he's slowly like assimilating you to turn you into him.
What?
So yeah, he constantly is showing up and like beating on you and being horrible to you because he's like, I'm going to take your fucking body away from you. And you're like, and you're trying to figure out how.
He's like a bad Tyler Durden.
He's a bad Tyler Durden.
What a dickhole.
So it's interesting. I'm not too far into it yet, but the character creation's fun. You get to pick your cock size.
Yes, I heard about the cock slider.
Yeah. So I made 3 characters. I made 4 characters, and then I played because each introduction is different. It's about 40 minutes.
Okay.
And then you get into the main game. So I wanted to see who was the funnest to play. And I ended up going with the Wastelander, who was just like a dude with a big cut dick. And then I had a dude with a little uncut dick. And then I had a lady with giant boobs.
You can make it cut or uncut?
Yeah. And then there's a size slider.
Wow.
And then I made just that's the wrong word. I'm not going to say monster. But I made sort of like a little dick, big boob, male voice, female face character. Mm-hmm. Who, I say monster because the way I designed him in the game, they were fucking hideous looking with black eyes and like scars everywhere.
I'm just imagining you took like the control settings and just button mashed.
But it's really, I don't know, in a year from now, maybe if people buy a 4K TV, a PlayStation 5, and the PlayStation 5 exclusive game, it'll be a lot of fun. Or if you own a $6,000 gaming PC. Other than that, you're gonna have a bad time, man.
See, this here's another example of how they're trying to separate the corporate elite from us Joe Dirt gamers. Gotta have a $6,000 rig if I want a Cyberpunk.
It's so weird. I don't know what they were thinking. Spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a game and then releasing it to the smallest crowd possible.
Maybe they refuse to reduce Keanu Reeves' image. They're like, he can only be seen in this high def quality.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Johnny Silverhand. It's interesting.
His name?
Yeah.
Johnny Silverhand?
He's kind of a lame character.
Sounds like a porn star name.
Yeah, it's a little. It's interesting. I don't know. I would try it if you ever get it on sale, or once they've fixed it enough that you can actually, it's playable. I would definitely recommend it. Until then,
yeah, I'm not rushing out to grab it.
no. And I really regret that I was like, day one it came out, and I was like, I've been waiting so long. I just got to get it. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to ignore my daughter for a day and go play this. And I was like, fuck, if I just waited literally 24 hours, I would have known all this.
You know,
I could have just waited.
Just knowing all of that for yourself, know that somewhere out there's some developer who can feel your anguish on some existential level, because I'm taking him away from his daughter. I'm a monster. I knew it was a shoddy product and I sold it anyways.
You son of a bitch. No.
Puts a gun in his mouth.
Yeah. Do it. Pull the trigger.
I'm the Cyberpunk.
But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. That's all I gotta say about that.
There you go. Mando and Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk. Very little tag at the end of Cyberpunk.
Two sci-fi epics of varying degrees of satisfaction.
Yeah. It's
The Book of Boba Fett.
Is it the Book of Boba Fett or is it the Book of Fett?
Book of Boba Fett.
It was the Book of Boba Fett.
Which makes me just think of Book of Mormon, because Boba Fett's in Arnold's story. Well, because Arnold puts Boba Fett in his story, he gets rid of all the frogs.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't help but think, like, it's the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. This book will change your life. This book will change your life. On that note, I think it's time to mosey on to the sunset.
That's right.
Could be a long time. We could have a vaccine by the time we record again. Who knows?
Yeah, and that vaccine could have turned the people into zombies, so this could be like the last one we don't do in a bunker.
I'm totally... I am not some sort of conspiracy theory nut job, but at the same time, history has proven that rushed vaccines very rarely don't contain a lot of side effects a few years later.
Yeah, I'm telling you, zombies, dude. This is the one.
Yeah, so it's like, vaccinate your fucking kids. We just got Talia vaccinated. She screamed like a banshee. But maybe wait until, like, you can't in 7 months do the testing required to see what long-term side effects
what happens
are
in like a year
of putting a dead virus into your body with whatever chemical stew is there to help facilitate creating immunity towards it. I mean, polio shots fucked up people for a long time because it was rushed, you know. So I don't know. Maybe just see if Grandpa dies, and then consider getting the shot.
You know that friendly EMT worker that you know, Pamela? Let Pamela get the vaccine. See if she turns into a neck-biting zombie.
Yeah.
If so, disregard.
Or if that's your thing, shoot it up. Mm-hmm. All right. I think that's it. Is that it?
This is the way.
This is the way. We'll see you at some point in the future, everybody, ladies and gents.
Happy holidays.
Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, anything else that comes along this time of year. Happy pagan tree ritual day that we've all sort of co-opted. So, yeah.
Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day, which is my birthday.
Oh, yeah?
November 17th is Life Day.
I'm so sorry.
I know. Fuck.